Ken Dashow from Q104.3, New York's classic rock station.
And I am Jane Dashow, actor, writer, den mother.
Awesome. And how do you know Hattie?
I met Hattie through a dear friend, May Pang, who was with John Lennon for a while. And May is a connector. She's the greatest connector in New York who connects great people together just to make things happen. And I fell in love with her as a person. And then the first time I heard her play, I don't know classical as well as I know rock, but I love classical. I've seen many performances. I've simply never seen anyone play the piano like Harriet Stubbs.
Awesome. And if you want to say anything?
And when I finally met Hattie, Ken had already said, "You're just going to fall in love with her. Just be ready for it." And I did. And at that point, we basically just adopted her. We became her New York parents and just do whatever we can for her and just love her to pieces.
What is it about her that's different? I know you're in the rock world, but just as an artist.
It's impossible to explain because I'll say that about the Beatles and the Stones and Miles Davis and Harriet Stubbs. You have to have such a level of technical proficiency to play at this level, and everybody's really good. But what is there about Horowitz? And I'm putting Harriet Stubbs on that level. Why is she a cut above everybody else? I don't think it can be taught. She's been playing since she's 4. She's proficient. But as soon as you hear her play, you say, that's it. I can't explain it. You don't have to know anything about classical music. But the first time I heard her play, it just lifts you up. You can't think of anything else. The music just grabs you.
She disappears into the notes. She just becomes this animalistic, beautiful creature that just brings it all to life. And the first time I heard her play Chopin, she actually played Chopin for me because he's my classical boyfriend. He knows about it, so it's fine. I was a wreck. I could not see her. I could not see the piano because it was the most beautiful interpretation I had ever heard. And she just speaks from the soul and is just so ferocious.
You see this little blonde, cherubic British girl who looks so dainty, so delicate. She sits down at a Yamaha grand piano, and the piano's shaking like a leaf. Like the Russians, I feel like the Russian composers are up there screaming, yes, yes. It's like Pete Townsend doing windmills on a guitar. She brings such passion and not melodrama. She's not overcooking the pudding. It matches the piece. The heart of the composer is in her heart when she plays.
It's as if she's channeling all of them when she plays. And that's just a beautiful thing.
I can't
I'm
wait
going
to hear
get
more.
emotional.
So have you heard the album?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are you
Yes.
so excited about for everybody else to hear it?
Have you ever heard a classical album with Marianne Faithfull reading a Blake poem? My guess is nobody's heard that yet. And when you hear it, you're never going to forget it. It's not your grandfather's classical album. And based on the Doors of Perception, the William Blake poem, the Aldous Huxley poem, that gave the Doors, the rock band, their name. Just as Jim Morrison and rock bands were exploring how far you can go, that's what Hattie's doing with her first album. Not just playing it safe, because everybody plays it safe. Here's a standard piece. Here's a Mozart piano concerto. No, she threw the playbook out the window and invented a new one.
Which is what makes for a great star. Stars say, I'm doing it my way. And there's this sweet little thing that went, oh no, my world. And we just love her for that because we love the fact that she's got good old-fashioned chutzpah, says the Irish girl.
That's so funny. So what do you think is one quality that the public should know about just from her?
The dynamics of it is that you've heard people play the piano before. Maybe you've seen a piano recital and it sounded lovely. The music's alive when she plays it, and I don't think that can be taught. She's been playing professionally since she's 4, so technically it's remarkable, her speed, her dexterity, her perfection with it. But that's not what you're hearing. What you're hearing is this music that's alive. And I'll go back to the great rock bands or a great jazz performer. What makes them different? It's because it's alive and well. There's no talking when she's playing. Nobody has to shush anybody in the audience. because you can't talk. You're focused like this because your heart is beating along with hers. You can't teach that. You're born with that.
Yeah. And you just, when you listen to the record, you don't have to be a classical aficionado. You can listen to this as someone who doesn't even know classical and fall in love with it because it comes through the Hattie filter. And, you know, I know some people who say, well, am I allowed to listen to classical music? Yes. And someone like Hattie actually says, come on, I'll teach you. It's music for everyone. And the way that she plays is the way that the great masters themselves played when they played the stuff, when they were, you know, doing the debuts of the music. This is the way that they played, and it becomes the people's music again through her, and that's very exciting.
All the people we know who are classical music fans, not snobs, not aficionados, as Jane said, but fans of the music. You don't have to know the difference between Scriabin and Shostakovich.
Show off.
Just let it wash over you. I did classical radio for a few years, but that wasn't the point. It wasn't about showing off what I know. Just let the emotion come through. That's what music is about, is transporting you to a different place. It doesn't matter if you know what the movement is or what symphony or when it was written. How does it make you feel? And that's what a great player can do.
Yeah, and if there's one personal thing you want to say, I know you guys, can you talk about the dress real fast? So that
We were having dinner, and we were talking about what she was going to wear, and she didn't have time to go look for the dress. And it dawned on me, I saw her in this dress that she was wearing at the performance this evening. I just saw the dress. And I said, okay, halters so that your back can breathe and so that you can do all the physical stuff you do while you're playing. And she just started going, oop. And I was walking past a store. It was not in the window. And I just turned and I said, it's in there. And ran in and found it, haggled, grabbed it, and brought it here to Yamaha to let her try it on. And it was a perfect fit. And we started crying and we were very happy. And there was much tears and hugging.
For me, at my doorway into classical music was through progressive rock, was Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and yes, Rick Wakeman and Keith Emerson are my heroes. And I feel like Keith is here in the room with me watching that because we had so many evenings that we discussed how much he loved classical music. And every critic said, how dare you try to combine classical and rock? And he couldn't care less. If you liked it, you liked it. If you didn't, you didn't. And I get that sense from Hattie.
She's carrying on the tradition.
When she says, when someone in the audience critiques her afterwards and said, I found it an interesting invention in the second movement when you chose to, she said, I'm absolutely tuned out, and I nod my head. My favorite question after a performance is, that last piece was so pretty. What's that called? She says, that's the person I played for. Come on, give me your hand. Let's go get a drink.
She plays to make me cry.
She plays to entertain. That's all
Yeah.
it was ever supposed to be. That's why Mozart put a bed sheet in the alleyway and wanted Così fan tutte in an alley, so people who didn't have a tuxedo could hear it. They just want people to enjoy the music.
This
That's
brings
what
it
she
back
does.
to the people.